What do you think would have been the effect on the gay rights movement had the opposite decision been handed down at Lawrence v. Texas? I know it's a speculative question, but you have done extensive research on it, so I was just wondering your opinion on that.
Well, to begin with, it's a great question in the sense that even at the time they were bringing the litigation, there were critics. There were people who said it's too soon. The Supreme Court is not going to reverse itself from a decision just 17 years ago. There was a lot of concern that that this might end up making bad law all over again and reaffirming it. What would have been the damage? Well, it wouldn't have ended the gay rights movement. I mean, one thing the gay rights movement, I think, has learned is that it constantly suffers defeats. It suffers defeats in the courts. It suffers defeats in the legislature. It suffers defeats at the ballot box. And yet every time you look back 5 years, somehow things are better. It's sort of the long-term lesson. You keep at it. You keep going. And you make the case. So I don't think it would have ended anything. It would have had a legal impact in the sense that it would have had two distinct impacts. A legal impact in the sense that much of American law, decisional law, the decisions that we can read in appeals courts, when it came to gay issues, cited the fact that you could make homosexual conduct a crime as a basis for justifying the result. So if it was supervision of a parent while while having custody of their own child, if it was denying adoption, if it was denying service in the military, if it was any number of things, you would often see Bowers versus Hardwick cited as if it was a criminal case, criminal conduct case. So it made its way into the law. That would have been reaffirmed. And it would be at least another generation, I think, before another case like this would come along where all the circumstances lined up, where you had the conduct occur, where police said it happened, but it didn't happen. And then you had the case end up in the hands of these attorneys because someone went to a bar that night and whispered it to a bartender. All of these planets would have had to have aligned again. Who knows when that would happen for the Supreme Court to reverse it? The second effect, I think, is that there would have been and then the other side of the legal effect is that getting rid of Lawrence versus Texas means that all of those decisions in whatever realm that relied on Bowers versus Hardwick are now open to question. Decisions about the fact that sexual orientation discrimination should not be subjected to heightened scrutiny, for example, that line of decisions is now open to question for the first time. All the other restrictions in the law now find themselves on a little bit less certain footing as a result of having this decision out of the way. On the political side, I think you would have, the effect would also have been present because one of the effects of sodomy laws, as I think I've suggested, is not just that it had a legal effect, but it had an effect almost on the mind of the country. It had the effect of saying this group of people shouldn't get any civil rights protections or employment protection because they're presumptive criminals. We don't give protection to such people. They don't deserve such protection. So you find these arguments used in legislatures when bills come up before legislatures to extend some civil rights protection, the protection in employment or in health insurance or education or housing. It comes up everywhere, the fact that these people are almost self-confessed criminals. That has political effects. Now, as a result of this decision, you can say that, but everybody knows there's now, the Constitution itself has something to say about this issue, and you can invoke that in debates. And so what's left? What do you say now? We just don't like it? You have to come up with other justifications. Now, people do. There are other arguments that get made, but this one is removed. And this one has been present in one way or another for about 400 years in our country alone, longer than that elsewhere. So that was a major step.